Okay, so chapter 17 starts on page 364 in your book. I guess the easiest way to figure these certain medications out is to understand what the drug is working on. So you have different diseases of the nervous system. You have Alzheimer's disease. You have anxiety disorders, which we kind of touched base on. A lot of the anxiety disorders are benzodiazepines, which you kind of learned on chapter 16. They end in PAM or azalam. You have lorazepam, you have oxazepam, diazepam, alprazolam, and you also have buspirone, which is an exception there. You have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD. Understand, the different endings, I guess, like amphetamine or phenidate. Those are pretty common endings for them. So you have Adderall, Focalin, which is dexmethylphenidate. Adderall is amphetamine with dextroamphetamine. Ritalin is methylphenidate. Strattera is a tamoxifen, and Vivonase is lisdexamphetamine. So they kind of all in the same for the ADHD meds. Bipolar disorders, you have Depakote, which is a brand name. The generic name for that is valproic acid. Escalith or lithium. They used to put lithium in 7-Up. So, just to kind of alter that state, I guess, the state of mind. You also have Geodon, which is ziprasidone. Lamictal, which is lamotrigine. Risperdal, which is risperidone. Seroquel, which is quetiapine, and Zyprexa, which is olanzapine. You have different meds for depression, and they usually end. Well, when we get into different drug classifications, they'll have different medications for SSRI, SNRI. So we'll figure out the differences in between all those. Paroxetine is, I believe, a SSRI. Duloxetine is a SNRI. So we got to make sure we know the difference, understand the difference in those. You have medications for epilepsy. The main one we distribute is phenytoin, brand name Dilantin. Then you have meds for insomnia, which usually end in PIDEM usually, or PAM, temazepam or zolpidem. You have meds for migraine headaches now. These have barely, they're not too far ancient as other medications like your depression meds and your benzodiazepines. These are pretty new. They usually end in triptan. So any migraine headache, you see triptan. Well, again, you should relate that to migraine headaches. Other ailments are multiple sclerosis, myasthenia gravis, Parkinson's disease, peripheral neuropathy, and schizophrenia. So there is quite a bit of medications for this chapter. So I will pull from the sheets that I gave you. If you have not gotten a sheet, let me know and I'll give you one of the chapter 17 medication sheet. All right, let's listen to what she has to say. Thank you. Let's see.
Therapeutic agents for the nervous system. We will go over these terms and definitions throughout the chapter. I do have psychosis highlighted, so let's go over that really quick. Psychosis may be a true mental illness due to an underlying medical condition like dementia, drug withdrawal syndromes, could be induced by medications, recreational drugs, or poisons. This chart here is select common drugs for conditions of the nervous system. This is a nice chart because it tells you how to pronounce the medication's generic names, which is usually the most difficult. And it kind of groups together everything by what it's for. So Alzheimer medication, anxiety medication, these are the most common. So at some point, you're going to want to make sure you're learning the brand and generics of common medication names because you will find those on the pharmacy technician certification exam. And obviously, when you're working in your job, you're going to have to know them because the patients are going to be asking you about them all the time, or nurse, depending on what setting. So we won't go over all of these, but we will talk about them through the chapter. The nervous system coordinates our body's actions. It enables us to interact with our environment. Our nerves allow us to detect and respond to stimuli, which is changes within or outside our body. And the nervous system maintains homeostasis, which is an equilibrium.
Really normal.
The brain, the brainstem, and the spinal cord form the central nervous system, which we commonly refer to as the CNS. The peripheral nervous system, which we commonly abbreviate as PNS, is outside the CNS and includes afferent, which sensory, and efferent motor branches. The afferent sensory division transmits impulses from the body's organs and tissues to the CNS. The CNS then interprets those signals. The motor division then relays the interpreted impulses to appropriate organs to trigger an effect. We further divide the afferent system into the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system, which we abbreviate as ANS. The somatic system relays motor impulses to skeletal muscles, and the autonomic system transmits motor impulses to smooth muscles, which is the muscles surrounding our blood vessels, cardiac muscles, and glandular tissue. The ANS has two main branches, the sympathetic nervous system, which we abbreviate as SNS, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which we abbreviate as PSNS, which we will talk about more later on. Here are the divisions of the nervous system, which include the
Sure, you have your worksheet has one of these. If you want to fill this out, I've just been giving everybody extra credit points if you were filling that out. I believe it's the ones with the figures on there. So, and then it is in your book there too. So, page 369.
somatic and autonomic branches. The somatic division sends and receives impulses to and from the muscles, whereas the autonomic system regulates both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. Central nervous system, PNS. The neuron is the smallest unit of the nervous system. Billions of neurons run through our bodies, carrying messages back and forth. They have four main sections: the cell body, the dendrite, the axon, and the nerve terminal, which you can see all in this picture once I scroll down a little more. The dendrites are extensions that receive electrical impulses from the previous neuron's nerve terminal. The cell body processes the electrical message before it enters the axon. A special insulation called a myelin sheath covers many axons. The covering consists of phospholipids and proteins and accelerates impulse conduction. And the small gaps are the synapses. And here's the picture. You can look at it a little bit better. Chemical message conduction from one neuron to another causes three basic cell membrane changes: polarization, depolarization, and repolarization. And here's a chart that kind of just depicts that whole process, the impulse transfer cycle. What is a neurotransmitter? Neurotransmitters are chemicals located in and released by neurons. They provide impulses emitted and sent from one nerve cell to another. And here is a good picture that kind of represents the lock and key mechanism. So like when you go to the doctor and they tap your knee with the little thing, as the knee is tapped, impulses are sent to and from the brain. The neurotransmitters affect specific receptors that are interpreted. The reaction sent via neurotransmitters is to jerk the knee. The central nervous system includes the spinal cord, brainstem, and brain. The following sections outline the primary functions. The brain has several sections. The largest area of the brain is the cerebral cortex that has gray matter lying over white matter. Gray matter includes neurons, cell bodies, and dendrites. This is where most neuronal activity happens. Language, memory, and cognitive functions occur in the gray matter. The white matter consists of bundles of nerve fibers. They function to communicate between other areas of the cerebral cortex and brain. We divide the cerebral cortex into left and right hemispheres. Hemi means half. The two halves communicate through the corpus callosum, which is a bundle of axons. And then we further divide the two hemispheres into 4 different lobes with specific roles. The frontal lobe controls motor function, parts of speech, emotions, problem solving, reasoning, and planning. The parietal lobe is important in orientation, recognition, sensation, and understanding language. The occipital lobe is important in controlling perception and interpretation related to vision. And the temporal lobe is important in receiving and integrating auditory stimuli and regulating emotion, personality, and behavior.
That's something that's affecting Bruce Willis. If you know Bruce Willis, the actor, he's gone into dementia now, and he's really on the back end of this. But it's affected his temporal lobe, which affects his auditory, even his speech, and how his personality is with people these days. So a lot of the dementia affects the temporal lobe. So that's why you'll have if you know somebody that has dementia, the person gets irate at some and doesn't remember certain people and whatnot. So um, this chapter right here is pretty big if you're going to get into you working what was I going to say? Working with people with depression, mental health issues, or whatnot. They're starting to build, I guess, in between here and Odessa, a place for mental health people that have mental health, and there's going to be quite a variety of openings for doctors that are needed for mental health. So this might be a good a start off for you once you graduate and see where you want to go after that.
The brainstem connects the brain to the spinal cord and has 3 main areas: the midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. These 3 areas link to many nerves in the brain, and the thalamus is above the brainstem. That serves as a relay station that transmits messages between the brain and the spinal cord. It sends messages to the proper area in the cerebral cortex. At the back of the brain near the brainstem is the cerebellum. This many folded brain section carries responsibility for precise movements, such as maintaining balance, posture, and coordination. So here's just the lobes of the brain, the cerebellum and brainstem, which are all part of the nervous system. When we discuss drugs that treat neurological disorders, we must include the BBB, the blood-brain barrier, that prevents certain molecules and substances like bacteria from entering. The spinal cord is inside the vertebral column. It serves as a path from the brain to the PNS. Vertebrae protect the spinal nerves. A watery liquid called the cerebrospinal fluid, which we abbreviate as CSF, cushions the brain and spinal cord. So here is a picture depicting segments of the spinal cord. 12 pairs of cranial nerves originate from the brain. These nerves, designated by Roman numerals, have specific functions. The numerals represent the fiber's location from the brain's front to back. Most nerves have sensory and motor fibers. 3 sets have sensory fibers only. Table 17.1 will list the primary functions of the cranial nerve sets, nerves 1 to XII. So again, table 17.1. So you can read through all of them. 1 is olfactory, and this is the cranial nerve, and this is what it functions to do. So for example, cranial nerve number 3 is oculomotor. That is the cranial nerve it is. And the muscles are involved in movement of specific regions of the eye and eyelid. Facial nerves involved in sensation of taste in the front of the tongue. They're linked to face and head muscles and result in our facial expressions. A lot of these are kind of interesting to think about because we don't think about them, but they're just happening at all times. We divide the PNS into the autonomic and somatic system. Each system has specific roles. The ANS, the autonomic system, controls automatic functions, which include unconscious heart beating and breathing. We further subdivide the ANS into 2 main branches. The S.
What's that? No. Yeah.
SNS and the PSNS, and these regulate organs, tissues, and blood vessels.
The short answer. The Microsoft Word, it doesn't let me open. It doesn't let me open this sheet.
Short answer. Okay, I'll see if I can fix that. Does it ask for
Yes, for like
try your? Have you tried your Millen College email?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
The SNS responds to stressful situations. It is the fight or flight response. During this stress response, the SNS shuts down the body's non-essential systems. It redirects energy to other areas such as the muscular system. The main neurotransmitters of the SNS are norepinephrine and epinephrine. 4 main receptor types respond to these neurotransmitters. Peripheral blood vessels, the heart, and the eyes have alpha-1 receptors. We primarily find alpha-2 receptors on smooth muscle. Primarily beta-1 receptors are in heart muscle and beta-2 receptors are in the respiratory system, blood vessels, and elsewhere in the body. Drugs that mimic natural SNS neurotransmitters are sympathetico-mimetics or adrenergics. And table 17.2 is the select effects of adrenergic receptor activity in the body. So alpha 1, the effects are our eyes dilate, our heart rate increases, and peripheral vasoconstriction occurs, which is narrowing of the blood vessels.
Let me go back here. So it's pretty important to understand what the alpha 1 receptor does. It controls eyes, pupils dilation, heart rate increases, peripheral vasoconstriction, narrowing of the blood vessel occurs. Alpha 2 receptors, they control the smooth muscle contractions. Beta 1 controls the heart rate, which increases the heart rate. Beta 2 deals with the bronchial dilation or opening of the airways. That's kind of what we went over, I think, in chapter 16.
8, heart rate increases, and peripheral vasoconstriction occurs, which is narrowing of the blood vessels. We think of the PSNS as the SNS opposite or counterbalance. The PSNS activates the digestive system. This function includes secreting acidic juices, increasing peristalsis, and inducing pancreatic insulin release. The PSNS works while we rest. The sympathetic system cannot or can override the PSNS during intensely stressful periods. The main PSNS neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. It is important in both the CNS and the PNS. And
you'll be hearing a lot on acetylcholine in regards to Parkinson's disease and stuff.
2 cholinergic agent types, agents that activate the PSNS, may either mimic acetylcholine or stop its destruction by acetylcholinesterase, an enzyme. Parasympathetic omimetics are cholinergic drugs that mimic the PSNS. The somatic system is a nerve network that relays messages from outside of the body to the CNS and then returns those messages. Nervous system dysfunction produces many conditions. Because so many disorders and diseases can affect the brain and nervous system, we only discuss a sample of the major indications and medications to treat them. Myasthenia gravis is a rare autoimmune disorder that affects electrical impulse transmission from the CNS to the body muscles. So here is a little depiction. And then it kind of goes over the prognosis, non-drug treatment, and drug treatment for each condition. And then it lists medications for the condition. So for our myasthenia gravis, we have the medication Mestinon, and then it gives you like the route of administration, oral and injection, the common adult dosage, the mechanism of action, the side effects, and the auxiliary labels. So these chapters are good chapters to help you complete your med list. We have the medication Imuron, also for autoimmune disease. Polyneuropathy manifests as distal loss of sensation, burning, or weakness, depending on the involved nerves. Polyneuropathy has many causes. It can be diabetes, alcohol misuse, human immunodeficiency virus, so HIV, certain medications, adverse effects, and among other things. For that, we have the medication Cymbalta, which can be prescribed for diabetic neuropathy. And if you look at the chart in the beginning of this chapter, it's actually listed under depression. So this medication first came out on the market for depression and clinical trials. They found out that it works for nerve pain and diabetic neuropathy and things of that nature.
So that is one of the ones that is in your list. Duloxetine, that's a serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. It's still that's a SNRI. Um, it's dealing with major depressive disorders, but it also helps with diabetic neuropathy as well. So just kind of put that to
The
understanding.
medication Neurontin, gabapentin, is really popular for neuropathy. There's creams such as capsaicin cream, which is the trade name is Zostrix.
So gabapentin was another one that's on your list. That drug classification is anticonvulsant. Usually deals with partial seizures, but also deals with neuropathic pain, post-herpetic neuralgia as well. Does it not really importance of the auxiliary label?
Epilepsy is a seizure disorder marked by hyperexcitability in some brain nerve cells. The two main types are partial and generalized seizures. Partial seizures affect only one brain hemisphere, and they may cause relatively mild symptoms. Generalized seizures affect both hemispheres. Epileptic children often have petit mal seizures. This causes them to stare into the distance for a time. And grand mal seizures, also known as tonic-clonic seizures, the person loses consciousness and falls to the ground. Periods of widespread muscle spasms, which is the tonic phase, alternate with muscle relaxation periods, which is the clonic phase. Injuries can occur depending on when and where those seizures take place. The person seizing will not remember that episode. So table 17.3 lists the different types of seizures and what happens during them. So partial seizures, we have the simple partial motor type, simple partial sensory type, and the complex partial type. Generalized, we have absence, which are called petit mal, akinetic seizures, myoclonic seizures, status epilepticus, and grand mal, which are tonic-clonic. Here are select anticonvulsants for the treatment of epilepsy. So it gives you the generic name, the trade or brand name, and the common adult dosage per day.
And usually the common one is phenytoin. I believe that is in your list as well. Brand name is Dilantin. Again, it's used for seizure disorders. Indications, status epilepticus, seizure disorder, and seizure prophylaxis. So it's also given, so that you can prevent from having seizures as well. So, and also gabapentin was also used for seizures, partial seizures as well. So.
Day. So carbamazepine is pretty popular drug that you see a lot for partial seizures and for generalized tonic-clonic seizures. You see I've highlighted do not stop taking abruptly. And again, for the medication phenytoin, which has a trade name of Dilantin, it says do not stop taking abruptly.
So for that, those auxiliary labels for phenytoin and carbamazepine, you're not supposed to stop taking abruptly on those.
For seizure medications, you cannot stop taking them abruptly. That definitely can onset unwanted seizures and unwanted reactions and stuff of that nature. Diazepam is available as a rectal gel. It's used for intermittent treatment of generalized tonic-clonic seizures and for status epilepticus. And it is a controlled substance, so it has federal law prohibits the transfer of this drug to any person other than whom it was prescribed for, and it is a rectal gel. Alzheimer's disease is a progressive condition associated with memory loss, confusion, impaired judgment, personality changes, disorientation, and loss of language skills. It's most common in elderly patients, but it can occur in younger adults. Stages associated with Alzheimer's disease. So there is 7 stages. So it lists the symptoms and the descriptions. Stage 1, no impairment or normal functioning. And then 2, very mild decline. 3, mild cognitive decline. 4, moderate cognitive decline. And then, of course, it tells you what kind of happened along the way. And then 7, very severe cognitive decline, the severe or late stage or the last stage of Alzheimer's disease. The person loses the ability to speak, control movements, or respond to their environment. They may lose the ability to feed themselves, use the toilet, walk without assistance, or sit without support. They may not be able to smile or hold their head up. And as reflexes continue to decline, their muscles become rigid and swallowing is impaired.
That's no fun way to die there. Alzheimer's disease.
This chart, 17.6, has select medications for the treatment of Alzheimer's. Parkinson's disease is a progressive basal ganglia disorder associated with the loss or deficiency of dopamine, a neurotransmitter. The overall degeneration of dopamine-producing neurons instigates symptoms. We use the acronym TRAP to talk about symptoms: tremor, rigidity, akinesia, and postural instability. As this is a progressive disease, symptoms get severe over time. Sometimes physical movement slows and then they eventually become wheelchair bound. They can have other issues like swallowing and speech difficulties, constipation, and cognitive impairment. Scientists have linked the development of Parkinson's disease to genetics and environmental influences, though as of now, the ultimate cause is unknown.
So it's those people that are shaking, they have no control of their body movement. The older generation, you see them kind of shaking, and even though they may be able to talk to you, they still have that form of Parkinson's disease.
Here's just a picture depicting some of the signs and symptoms. We have select medications in table 17.7 that treat PD. I've highlighted the medication.
And that is levodopa, carbidopa. Keep in mind that DOPA in that should make you start thinking, okay, this is for increased transmitters of dopamine, increasing dopamine in the system, because that's what when you have Parkinson's disease, that's what the body lacks, is dopamine.
Medication, levodopa. It is converted to dopamine in the central nervous system, which helps manage the motor symptoms of Parkinson's disease. The carbidopa blocks the peripheral conversion of levodopa to dopamine so that it can reach the CNS. So those medications is a combination medication called Cinnamon.
So these are special types of medications that can cross the blood-brain barrier. There's not a lot of medications that the blood-brain barrier will allow for it to cross. Levodopa, carbidopa is one of those special medications.
We have dopamine agonists that mimic the actions of dopamine in the CNS to help treat the motor symptoms. The medication amantadine may increase dopamine availability in the CNS, and it is also helpful due to the anticholinergic effects. The medications Comtan and Tasmar help prevent the peripheral conversion of levodopa by the enzyme COMT, which is this catechol-O-methyltransferase. MAOI-B1 inhibitors, so monoamine oxidase B inhibitors, they inhibit MAOB and decrease the metabolism of dopamine in the CNS. So here,
So keep in mind the monoamine oxidase inhibitors, such as rasagiline and selegiline, those are gonna counteract with different other medications, maybe like heart medications or whatnot. So you gotta kind of be careful when you're mixing these two with the MAOIs, and I believe it's the statins. Those two counteract with each other.
those medications, Azilect, Zolapar. We have anticholinergics like cogentin and artane. Anticholinergic activity reduces the excessive cholinergic activity, which is present in Parkinson's disease. And here's just some more information on those medications. Multiple sclerosis, commonly abbreviated as MS, is a chronic neurological condition. It affects the myelin sheath's integrity and neurons in the CNS. Myelin covers the axonal portion of neurons and helps facilitate proper nerve transmission. MS is an autoimmune disorder in which the immune system breaks down the myelin sheath. After immune system damage, hard tissue replaces the myelin sheath. Electrical impulses cannot pass from one neuron to another effectively, which leads to impaired movements and other neurological deficits. And 17.8, table 17.8 lists disease patterns or types of MS. So we have the pattern primary progressive MS, progressive relapsing MS, relapsing remitting MS, and secondary progressive MS. And
So MS is just the hardening of your myelin sheaths on the neurons, which the electrical currents start to slow down in the body. So your reactions become slower, you become to walk slower and stuff like that.
can read the descriptions of all of those different types of MS. A lot of medications for MS are injectable. So we have the medication Avonex. It is an IM injection. The medication Rebif, which is a subcutaneous injection, so just under the skin. Also with beta-seron, subcutaneous injection. The medication Capaxone. The medication dalfampridine is oral.
So most of the MS medications are injected. So, all right, we'll finish this up. We'll do a review tomorrow. Try to finish this up tomorrow. Yeah, have a great day.
No, that was yesterday I went, and I'm going tomorrow as well. So is there anything like I need in particular?
Chapters are you 1905 you have not, and we started chapter 17.
So chapter 5.
Yeah, chapter 5. So I'll get that in and start up the chapter 17.
I won't be here tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, we're just gonna go over a review on the chapter 19 musculoskeletal, and we'll have a test on Thursday.
And is the stuff to study online?
The stuff to study is mainly going to be questions from this,
Okay.
and look at the Jeopardy review on there.
Well, it's not FAQ, but like the podcast, there's software and you don't have it, and you don't. Well, yeah, like, the star test, I think something next week.
Understand that, okay, this is probably
Administration, would it be like the?
Have a great day. It's gonna be ophthalmic, so you just put ophthalmic. And the dosage form is on the, So like with cortisone, it's an injection. So you can put a dosage form injection powder. So this usually comes in an injection powder. A route of administration is for IV or IM. So either you could just put IV, IM, which is IM. Yeah. And storage. Again, that's a suppository one. Is usually kept in the refrigerator, so all you gotta put is put the refrigerator on this. Route of administration is very cool. And dosage form is suppository. We're gonna do a quick review or test that's gonna be on Thursday. Which I got your Jeopardy game on the canvas and or Jeopardy review. So it's gonna be off the, what's the generic name or what's the brand name, what drug class is alprazolam, stuff like that. Just studying off your paperwork on chapter 19.
Oh yeah, we
Because
got
that's
it back.
musculoskeletal.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
and then I'll just turn chapter 5 Thursday.
Yeah. As long as it's sometime this week is fine.
Okay.
Thanks.